I finished my electrical system upgrades on my travel trailer, installing both the batteries and inverters and as well as the solar panels just prior to the end of 2021. So I took advantage of the approaching winter solstice to do a worst case scenario test on my travel trailer. The main purpose of this test was to see how much electrical energy my solar panels produced on the shortest day of the year. And then secondarily to that, I wanted to know what percentage of the RV's battery bank is increased by that solar production. This video was recorded 2 weeks prior to when I got the heat pump mini split installed, so I had no ability to heat the trailer from electricity, and I could have used the propane furnace to heat the trailer, but I wanted this to be a cold weather test anyway, so I didn't do that, and plus it would be wasting propane to heat it just there, sitting there on the side of my house. After this video was recorded, I met with Matt at Continuous Resources, who helped me design this system originally and has been very helpful. I'll put a link in the description down below to their company, and you can go and they'll help you with off-grid solar and RV solar. We went over the system settings and tweaked some things. This video was recorded prior to that, so some of the settings weren't quite right, and after this video, they are all updated and they work flawlessly with the system and how I have it configured. I will be making additional videos later going over various performance characteristics of my system, the interplay between the solar panels and the batteries on the trailer, as well as the solar panels and charging my Tesla from the trailer, things like that. Temperatures generated from when the solar panels are generating heavily and the inverters are inverting heavily, etc., etc. So I'll be going over all those in future videos. For that reason, in this video, I was charging the Tesla quickly in the morning to draw down the battery bank of the RV so that I could then see how much the percentage of the battery bank of the trailer would increase throughout that day of solar production. My normal process is to just start the car charging at a slow rate of speed and have it go throughout the majority of the day so that as much energy as possible just goes straight from the solar panels through the inverters and straight to the battery pack of the Tesla. I will also be making a video aggregating all of my experiences over the first 6 months to a year of working with this system and showing a spreadsheet of all of the details of how well it's gone and how much energy I've gotten out of the trailer system. And the last thing is I will be making a video specifically about the interplay of charging the Tesla from the trailer in a future video. I am trying an experiment. So you can see right now the car is 29%, and that's right here. And I have it set to 90% charge limit, and then down here you can see that it's going to be pulling 10 amps, which 10 amps is not terribly important. I can go up to 20, but I'm just going to have it be doing it a little bit more slowly the first thing here in the morning. So what I'm going to do is empty the entire RV battery into the Tesla so that I can see how much energy the RV battery gets from the solar over the course of the day, and what percentage it raises the battery up in a day like today, which is December 18th, and it's near the winter solstice where the days are the shortest, but it will be a perfectly sunny day today. And some quick stats. The battery is a 9.6 kilowatt hour battery, and the solar array is 530 watt panels, so it's about 2,600 watts of solar. And also the solar panels are flat mounted, which is typical on RVs, but that's obviously going to be an increased reduction in production here in the winter, especially when the sun is so low in the sky. So in here is where I plug in this extension cord, which is my normal 50 amp Camco extension cord I use for charging my Tesla. And this is the battery compartment where the original 12 volt lead acid battery resided. And I installed this NEMA 1450 outlet there. So the cord is going around the corner into the garage. I can go over there and show you that here, right there. And then that's going to be going into the car. But I have to go turn on the inverter first. Right now it is 8:11 a.m. and you can see here that we are actually already getting 26 watts of solar. The battery is at 61%. And we can come in here and look at the menu, and we can see that we're getting 7 watts from the smaller charge controller and 24, 22, 27, 25 thereabouts on the larger charge controller. Also, the battery is at 0 degrees Celsius at this moment. So that's what the stats are. And so now what I need to do is come over this way and turn on the inverters. So there's a power switch right here. So I turn on that one, they negotiate, and then they come in in sync with each other. That's this green light right here. It just says inverter on, and inverter on. So now this right here is the circuit breaker for the NEMA 1450 out on the outside of the trailer. And you can see it's a double pole breaker. One is going to each inverter, and so the charger is getting 240 volts. So let's go outside and plug in the Tesla. So coming back around to the car, here's the end of the charger cable. You can see that it has the green light on, so it's ready to rock and roll. So here we just can push this button, plug in the car, starts charging. We can look here through the window. I'll just go inside, it's easier to see. And it is starting to charge. This is 10 amps. I'm not wanting to pull a whole lot because the batteries are super cold. They're near the bottom end of the range where they can have power pulled from them. So I'll let this power drain to the Tesla, and then we'll see how much solar power we get from the solar panels on the roof of the RV for the rest of the day. Right here you can hear the inverters buzzing. This is the sound they make. And when they are warmer, they will have a cooling fan turn on as well, which I'll show you some other time. And then over here, you can see it's putting out about 2 kilowatts to the car, which is what the car indicated. And so it is pulling 100 amps out of the battery bank that is across 8 battleboard batteries. So part of the purpose of this experiment is just simply that we were right near the winter solstice, like I said, and I'm curious to see how much solar we can get from the rooftop solar array, and the battery needs to be empty enough to receive whatever it will get from the solar, and if we will be able to see how much solar power we get. And I may do this for a couple of days in a row because we have like 3 or 4 days here of sun right at the winter solstice, and it's really cold, so the solar panels will be producing maximum as far as temperature is concerned, but they are flat mounted on the roof of the RV, so we're not getting maximum power because of that. And so, well, I'll give you an update on as we go forward with the charging, the discharging first, and then the charging of the batteries. The cooling fans just turned on, and this is what they sound like. This is with the camera, of course, down near them. If I'm just up here standing here, this is what they sound like. It's not too loud, but it's a noticeable fan sound for sure. Okay, I am back in the Tesla, and I'm going to go ahead and raise the amps here up to the maximum that the inverters can handle, which is 20 amps. I have actually gone up to 21 before, and they were okay, especially when they're cold, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at 20 because that's the theoretical maximum, and I don't want to push limits too much. And so here is what the stats look like in the trailer when the AC loads are at their maximum. And you can see the battery's already down to 58%. And also, this is what the sound sounds like. This is with the inverters under maximum load, of course. And of course, it's really cold in here as well. If we look at here, the thermostat shows it is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll see how this goes. Something worth mentioning here is on my cell phone, I can actually monitor the trailer because it's connected to the Wi-Fi, and this is the VRM monitoring portal that Victron has. And so it shows the AC input, generator, which we don't have connected, the AC loads over here, and you'll notice it's 0 at the moment, and that's just because this VRM portal is a few minutes delayed, and I just barely started the inverting happening. And you can see down here, the discharging is at 61%, and when we were just out there, it was already in the high 50s. But so this is a little bit delayed, but I can use it to monitor and kind of keep track of where the trailer battery percentage is at while I'm still in the house. It is just 3 minutes later, and you can see the VRM has caught up. But at the rate that it's discharging, 3 minutes can be kind of a long time. So I have to make sure that, like, when this is down to 5%, that I'm out there to unplug it because it's probably done. Also, the solar is up to 98 now. I am getting a notice here at 8:58 that from the MPPT charge controller, the 150 volt version, the bigger one, saying low battery voltage, which is kind of interesting. When I acknowledge that and come back over here to the main menu, it shows here that it's 19% on the battery, and actually now we're getting a low battery warning from the master inverter, and the inverter just stopped inverting. So the test here kind of is a low voltage battery test as well as the solar production test today, and because the batteries are so cold, it looks like they're actually stopping putting out their power here at 19%. So I'm going to have to go adjust the battery, or I'm going to have to go adjust the Tesla so that it is pulling less power, and we'll see how much farther we can get these down. So here the inverter just reset. It was blinking there, the low battery warning light right here. And it sounds like it's trying to turn back on, but I'm going to go adjust the Tesla first. It is now 9 o'clock and I've adjusted the Tesla down to 5 amps, which you can see right here. And so it's just pulling 1 kilowatt, and we'll see if we can get these batteries discharged a little bit closer to zero. Oh, also worth pointing out is the battery's now at 33%. We are back in the trailer now, and the battery shows at 18%, and we're having 1 kilowatt pulled out of it going to the Tesla. The solar now is at 289 watts. So we'll keep monitoring the situation and see if the system can handle this load down to, I'll probably go to like 5%. The battery temperature indicator, it shows being up to 4C or Celsius now. So it's got up 4 degrees apparently. So that's kind of interesting, but to be expected. And then here we can see these individual stats for the inverters. It appears to be handling 1 kilowatt just fine, so I am going to double that and we'll see how it does. Okay, the car is now pulling 10 amps, and you can see there is a error light blinking on the inverter. This is 240 volts that the car is pulling. If you look at the error code, it looks like it's over here on the master, and it's the low battery warning. So I'll put the amps back to 5. Well, even at 5 amps on the Tesla, or 1 kilowatt, the low voltage alarm just alarmed again, and it shut off the inverters, and they are now just restarting. I think I'm just going to let the experiment conclude here on the discharging portion at 15%, because the battery is just so cold, it has a hard time keeping the voltage high enough to continue this experiment. You can see here the voltage is at 20.8 volts, 20.7. So I'll just go turn off the Tesla, and hopefully we don't get more than 100% of the battery state of charge from the solar in one day. But that's kind of what this experiment is about, and I'll be doing this probably for another day or two. And here at the conclusion of this experiment, the Tesla went up 4%. As you can see, it's at 33% now, and we started at 29. The battery and the RV went from like 69% down to 15%, but that's pretty poor performance because it's just really cold. You may also be wondering why my Tesla's battery is so low, and it's just because, well, I've been wanting to do this experiment. We're not really driving a whole lot right now with just hanging at the house with James, and so I figured just let the car discharge, and we've driven it around a bit, and now I'm going to be charging it exclusively from the RV's solar over the next 3 days, and I'm curious to see how much energy I can get into the Tesla in these worst case conditions where the batteries are cold and the sun is low in the sky, so the solar production is not real high, and the days are short as well. Here is a brief status update coming in here. It is now high noon. So looking at the trailer's information, we're up to 39%, and the solar is 1,243 watts. And looking at the individual solar panels, one solar panel is producing 279 watts, and then 4 solar panels is producing basically 1 kilowatt. Also, the batteries are now up to 11 degrees Celsius. It is now 1 o'clock, and so for a brief status update here, we are at 50% state of charge and 1,207 watts of PV production. And if we come in here to the menu, we can see how much each of the solar charge controllers are producing. And we can also look at the temperature of the batteries at 12 Celsius. And it is now a 4 o'clock update. We're up to 68%, and the solar is down to 98 watts, or 100 watts, thereabouts. I'm going to go up on the roof of the RV and show you what the shadowing looks like, so you can understand why it's dropped so much. But also the sun sets around 5 p.m. these days. And so that's the individual performance, and the battery is still at 12 degrees Celsius. Here is the roof of the RV, and all of those panels are shaded, and you can see the shade line is going across right here. Unfortunately, we have the side of the house right here, so that's what's casting the shadow, but it's kind of where the RV has to be parked. However, you can see right now 4 is about where the corner of this panel is starting to get shaded. Otherwise, this back panel is by itself, so it is still producing fully, at least as good as it can, with the sun being low in the sky. Actually, something else worth mentioning is these panels are I can't remember what, they're 120 cell panels basically. And so this is 60 cells, and it independently operates from this side of the panel, even though physically this is all one giant solar panel that is 530 watts. So we've actually kind of effectively got 10 square panels up here, basically. And so also what that means, because the shade line is right there on the corner of this one is actually producing fully, and the rest over here are not. And then this one, the two sides are. So we kind of have 3 square panels fully producing right now. And then as an aside up here, you can see this is a 10 kilowatt array, or a 9.98 kilowatt array on the roof of the house, which is grid tied. Here is one last update for the day. The battery got up to 68% here at the end of the day. And if you recall, we discharged it to 15%, but the battery has been pretty cold all day, so that plays into it. We are currently pulling 76 watts out of the battery because the fridge is on, and the solar is producing 5 watts or 8 watts. And if we go into the menu here, we can see that it's 5:04 p.m. or 17:04 military time, and today the sun is setting at 5:05, so in 1 minute. So we're pretty much done with production for the day, but it is still technically producing a tiny amount, and the battery is probably still 12 degrees Celsius. So in the morning I will be discharging this battery like I did this morning back into the Tesla, and we'll see how much production we get tomorrow. So that means that on a winter day on December 18th, the solar, being flat mounted like it is, was able to produce 53% of our RV battery worth of electricity in 1 day. It's a little bit later in the same day, and I'm doing a really quick low-tech screen recording here with my camera. I just wanted to show the VRM portal and some of the information here. I'll be going over this in more detail later, probably in some future video. This initial screen looks similar to the mobile app that I think I've already shown you. You can see the battery's gone down 1%. It's a few hours later, it's 10:30 at night. What I wanted to show actually is this graph down here. This is pretty cool. It shows the state of charge of the battery, and then it shows the consumption, and then over here are these yellow bars show the production throughout the day. So this whole bar chart is just today. So the state of charge is this blue line, like I said, and this is where I was discharging to the Tesla in the morning, and that was this huge discharge amount, which was 2.79 kilowatt hours of consumption right there in the first hour of the day. You can see here the battery ramped back up, and this was the solar production. So that arc there of those orange bars is the solar production for the day. And on that 1 hour right there, for instance, the solar produced 1.23 kilowatt hours in 1 hour from noon to 1, and that was the peak of the day. Over here, I'm not totally sure about these here. The grid, I'm not really going in and out of the grid, that's expected, but the production versus consumption, why is the consumption only half of the production? I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm kind of new to this whole portal, so anyway, just wanted to show that. It is now the next morning, and everything here in the trailer is good and frosty. If we look here at the thermostat in the trailer, I don't know if you can see that well, but it's showing 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And if we come over here to the Servo GX screen, we can go into the menu, and the battery sensor shows it being 0 degrees Celsius. Also, solar is 6 watts and 23 watts. It's 8:10 in the morning right now. So what I'm going to do now is turn on the inverters and offload. And worth noting, the 65% battery. It was at 68 when it finished yesterday. So anyway, I'm going to go start charging the Tesla, and we'll pull out a chunk of this. I'll probably pull it down at about 25%, and then we'll see how much power we get today from solar. So to turn on the inverters, I'd come over here and flick this power switch here and this one over here. And then they'll come on in lockstep with each other. There, that click is them being on. The EV charging circuit is already on, so I'm going to go plug the car in. First, I'm in here in the Tesla, making sure it is set to the 10 amp charge rate. I don't want to pull the full 20 amps when everything is so cold. There we go. Okay, in the car, it is now starting to charge. Note that we're at 31%, so it lost, I think, 2% since yesterday, which is a normal standby loss over this chunk of time. And it is now charging at the 10 amps, so we'll leave this to discharge the trailer battery for a little while. Okay, it is now 9:35 a.m. Battery's up to 8 degrees Celsius, and one thing I should point out is it can be down to negative 3.3 degrees Celsius, and the batteries can still be charged. So let's go back over here. 18% on the battery. I time got away from me, and this is where we are, so that's fine. So 464 watts of solar is what we're getting right now. So we're just gonna let this charge throughout the day and see how much solar we get compared to yesterday's 53%. And also I'm now gonna go check the Tesla and see how much power got into there. Okay, I'm in the car, and as you can see here, it got up to 36%. So it gained 5% from the RV having gone from like 65% down to 18%. So not great performance, to be honest, and the batteries in the RV are cold, so I'm sure that's a big part of it. But overall, I think this winter experiment is going to prove that the RV does not produce well to keep the Tesla charged up. All right, we are now at the end of the day for the second day of tests, and it is 5:40 p.m. So sunset was at about 5:05 p.m., so I'm a little bit past that. But in any case, we can see what the performance for the day was. And looking here, we can see that we're up to 69%. Now remember, we were down at 18% when we started charging this morning. So that means we've gained 51% of the battery today. Yesterday it was 53% of the battery, so a little bit of variance there. So we can also come into the menu and look at the battery temperature, which is showing 11 degrees Celsius. And that's about all there is to look at. Well, actually, that's in the RV. If we come down here and look at my phone, we can see the Victron monitoring portal, and same information you can see from up there, voltage and whatnot. But down here we can see this historical data graph, which is cool. Now this is showing yesterday. I'm going to switch it over to today. There we go. And we can see that we were consuming power. That's the two red chart bars charts right there, bars on the chart. The blue line is the state of charge of the battery. So we started out the day and then drained it into the Tesla and then produced throughout the day and ended up at about the same state of charge. That being said, I've found that the amount of energy that went into the Tesla was somewhat minimal because the batteries are cold. And this is kind of a cold test because we don't have the HVAC system set up in the trailer yet, so they are cold. But in the future, I will keep it warmer in here with the mini split heat pump, and it'll have better battery performance through the winter. But in the summer, I'm sure it'll be much better. And then down here, we can see that we produced 6 kilowatt hours of solar today, and our consumption was 3.4 kilowatt hours, and that's the consumption through AC, I think, and the DC, I think, is not shown reflected here because we have a refrigerator running in here, right here, this fridge, and this is a DC 12 volt fridge. It can actually do 24 volt, and it can also do 120 volt, and I think even higher than that. And we have it running because we keep things in here. We currently have milk for James here and then some hamburger up above, and so that's why we keep it going. And so it's always causing a little bit of draw. So the fridge being on in here is one reason why I don't discharge the battery at night. I want to let the fridge have what it needs throughout the night, and then the next morning I drain it to the car and I can go down to near zero because the solar is already up and running by that point, and then it'll charge for the day. In general, though, my normal habit, if it's a cloudy day or if it's unpredictable weather, I tend to just leave the battery in somewhere of its middle state of charge and offload to the Tesla once the battery's gotten near 100%, and then I pull it down. So anyway, that's the second day of test today. Just a little bit of data point. I'm going to do one more test day tomorrow because it's also supposed to be a totally sunny day. We'll get some 3 days worth of data of cold weather battery performance and solar performance right near the winter solstice, or actually right at the winter solstice. Yesterday was the 18th of December, today's the 19th, tomorrow's the 20th. The winter solstice this year is on Tuesday, the 21st of December, which is the day after this test will conclude. And I would potentially do it that day, but I think 3 days is sufficient and it's close enough to the winter solstice, and the weather is going to be cloudy on Tuesday. Maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. It's not important. So anyway, we'll pick this up tomorrow morning and do one more day of testing. Okay, it is now the morning of the third day, so we're going to do this test one more time, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty similar to the others, so I'll be pretty brief today and then I'll summarize it tonight. Right now the battery is sitting at 67%, and we're getting about 40 watts of solar at this moment. And once again, if we come in here and look at the menu, we can see that the battery is at 3 degrees Celsius, and each charge controller, one's at 14 watts and one's at 37 watts. And this is a single panel, and this is 4 panels in parallel and in series. So that's all the information probably, and let's just get the car plugged in. Okay, the car is starting to charge. It's at 34%. So if I remember right, it was at 36 when we unplugged it yesterday. So once again, it has lost 2% overnight. And we are charging at 15 amps and 239 volts, and that is 4 kilowatts. So we're just gonna leave this until the battery in the until the battery in the trailer gets down to probably, I don't know, 40% or so, and then we'll let it charge the rest of the day. The RV battery has been drawn down enough. The car is up to 37%. So I'm going to unplug the Tesla, and then we'll go out to the trailer. The ambient temperature in the trailer is 26 degrees Fahrenheit. The trailer battery is down to 39%, which is close to what I was shooting for. I'm not going to go less than that because last couple of days, the trailer has been able to produce about 51% on the battery, and I want it to be nearly full because nearly the rest of the year is going to be snowing or cloudy. Right now we're producing 270 watts of solar. The battery is at 8 degrees Celsius, and here's the output of each of the individual charge controllers. So I'm going to let this charge all day, just like I've done the last 2 days, and then we'll see where it is this evening. And I was just looking at the weather forecast, and tomorrow is perfectly sunny as well now. The weather has changed a little bit, and it's also winter solstice tomorrow, so I think I will do this experiment for yet a 4th day, and I'll have enough data. It is now 5 p.m. on the 3rd day, and the ambient temperature in the trailer is 47 degrees. And the battery got up to 90%, and we started at 39% if I remember right, so once again another 51% day. Solar is currently producing 5 watts, so it's pretty much done. Coming into here, the battery got up to 12 degrees Celsius, and as you can see it's 5:04 p.m. and that's all the information for this evening. I think I'll do this test one more day tomorrow. It is now the morning of the winter solstice, and this is the 4th day of testing. The battery is down to 87%, where it was at 90% last night, and the solar is just starting to produce at in the teens of watts. Let's get the Tesla hooked up. We drove the car yesterday just a short distance, and then we had probably another 2% of standby loss overnight. So it is now at 26%, and we'll see how much of this energy gets into the car. Because I'm doing this testing over 4 days, I'm trying to keep everything consistent, so I'm charging the car fairly quickly first thing in the morning so that I can see how much battery percentage is rising over the course of the solar day near the winter solstice. So that's really my primary test, actually, not the charging of the car. But the energy needs to get out of the battery so there's room for new solar, and the Tesla's the easiest place to put it. One thing I would mention is if I was actually trying to maximize the solar going into the car, I would actually be charging the car at a really low amperage and start it about now, or maybe even starting at more like 10 a.m. and then letting the solar from the RV be going straight into the car over a long period of time. And I think that would probably be a more efficient way of doing things rather than going into the batteries over there first and then coming over to these batteries in the Tesla. So I am back here in the RV, and the battery percentage has already gone down a little bit. We're pulling just over 3,000 watts to the Tesla. Going in here to the menu, the battery is at 3 degrees Celsius. You can see it's 8:13 a.m. And then here is the individual output of the charge controllers at this point in time. One thing I should mention is over here is where I'm going to be installing the mini split, and I'm actually going to be working on that today. And so it's not functional yet. Oh, actually I should mention that the ambient temperature in the trailer right now is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is kind of a cold weather test for the batteries. Once this mini split is installed, I'm planning on keeping it say around 50 or 60 degrees in here all through the winter, and then the excess energy I'll put into the Tesla. But it'll keep these batteries in a more comfortable state where they'll last longer, and also I'll be able to maximize the power I can get out of them because they'll be warm rather than this cold state where a lot of the potential energy it can't be realized because they're too cold for it to come out. And right here is the outdoor unit of the mini split that I installed yesterday, and so that's where I'm hoping to have the whole system done by this weekend. I'll of course be doing a separate video about this whole mini split installation. Okay, we're done charging. The battery's at 40% here in the RV. We're producing just over 400 watts of solar, and the battery is at 10 degrees Celsius, and this is the individual output of each of the charge controllers. Let's check the Tesla's battery and see how much that went up. Well, the battery of the Tesla went up a whole 3%. It's up to 32%. So not a whole lot, unfortunately, but it is the winter solstice today, so this RV solar is not producing nearly as much as it will in the summer. Well, here we are at the end of the 4th day, and we're at 89%. So basically, on a sunny day, on the shortest day of the year, we're able to get 50% of the RV's battery charged from the solar on the roof of the RV. And then if we go in here and look at some of the other details, battery's at 13 degrees Celsius, and I was running the heater inside today. I was working on the RV, so that's probably one reason why it's warmer. And then no production there. And it is later than I've checked in the past because I was busy doing things. So with all that being said, I'm going to go sit down on the computer and we will summarize this information and some of the testing that I did, and I'll show you some information from the Tesla and how much energy we got there versus how much energy the trailer produced. Summarizing all of the information in this video into a spreadsheet looks like this. So going through the columns just briefly, we have the date, and then we have the total production in kilowatt hours from the solar for that day, which was 6 kilowatt hours on average. And then we have the total consumption in kilowatt hours for that day, and that is 2.8 kilowatt hours for that day. That is slightly below 50% efficiency, which is kind of poor. I don't know what to make of that, but the batteries were quite cold. Starting RV battery state of charge on average for the days was 70%, and then I on average discharged them to 28%, and then by the end of the day they were back to 79%, and so on average that was a 51% gain from the solar production of that day. And then the Tesla on average gained 4% state of charge on its battery pack throughout the day. Now keep in mind that this is a Tesla Model S 85D. The total capacity of the battery that's usable nowadays is probably around 70 to 75 kilowatt hours. And so that's what this percentage is showing. I hope this has been helpful, seeing the details around the performance characteristics of my system in the cold and in short days. And so, like I said, I'll be continuing to release additional videos as I edit them, showing the performance of the system in the spring and in the summer, and also the interplay between the RV and the Tesla and charging. And then obviously also we're going to be going on trips in the Tesla, which we've already done back in February, and we went down to Arizona. So I'm just trying to get through editing all of these videos to show how well the trailer has been working for us. So if you are interested in watching those, please subscribe to my channel and change that bell notification to all, and you'll get notified automatically every time I upload a video. And with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.